And welcome to Cold War Radio, ladies and gentlemen, live on WHBJ Digital Talk, thankfully. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. in the Allegheny National Forest studio of WHBJ. Let's go north, and north. Let's welcome Radio Norway to the program. Hello, come in, please.
Good evening, Hutch. I'm desperately trying to delete all the the contra orders I just gave on where we are tonight. Of course, we are on WHBJ and not on Cold War Radio. That was a glitch, but I managed to share that glitch with everybody, so now I got to take it back.
Well, I think there's
in 2 seconds.
That's fine, and thank you very much. And I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. One of the flaws of the broadcast software is that Cold War Radio is a show I have, and so is WHBJ, two different type of shows. But the doggone software uses Cold War Radio for default, and if I miss that step, what happens is what happened tonight, is the broadcast is broadcast on Cold War Radio, and the problem with that is that if I go over a certain amount of time, it stops. So there's no streaming, and when Norway told me about that, unfortunately, it's debatable will be heard on WHBJ on the loop later this evening. But the problem is that they played, when he told me we were on Cold War Radio, I stopped everything, and I didn't have a chance to explain it to anybody or anything like that. These things happen, ladies and gentlemen. I know you're resilient. Rocky, there's your explanation. That was all me, and thanks to Norway, we pulled it out with just a little friction at the beginning. Please follow me on Spreaker, ladies and gentlemen. The email is scrtv@live.com. The Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-206-6208. From 8:30 to 9 o'clock, please keep your calls concentrated on the guest at hand. If you want to check the podcast out after the live broadcast, you can go to the 405media.com, iHeartRadio, and shout out to iHeartRadio, by the way. I had a chance to come across Glenn Beck's show today, and you know, the radio stations are few and far between that aren't playing country music and church. So I listened to it, and he had a lot of good things to say about iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio has never backed down from a conservative when it was challenged. So thank you, iHeartRadio, very much. If you could go support them, please do. The Cold War Radio app, free in your app store. You can go to YouTube, where there are captions. Use the hashtag Cold War Radio on Twitter. And please, ladies and gentlemen, go to Steel City Resistance, catch the research room, help us keep everybody squared away, become a Cold War Radio patron, subscribe on Subscribestar. You can also check out the video page, which shows the videos of our audio clips. If you want to write to the show, it's Cold War Radio, P.O. Box 96022, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania 15226.
You are listening to Cold War Radio.
How's that for a miraculous recovery, Norway? I ran down the hallway because I have a remote recording station that records Cold War Radio so I could put it on iHeartRadio. I had to run down there, and I apologize for the confusion, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't sound like Norway's back yet, but he will be sure.
Oh, I'm back. I think I've managed to pull all the wrong links and post the right ones. So I wish I had, some automatic system I could do this. I know there are some systems out there that cost a fortune, but a simple system where you could post a message one place and have it filter down through all the social media. That would be excellent. So if anyone out there has a good grasp on such an app for Mac, preferably, or online, please let us know.
Yeah, and I'm sure there is something out there, and if there's not, there will be. That's coming, no question about that. I'll tell you, I'm out here in a very remote section of the country and of the state, not necessarily. It's not like out in the middle of Montana or anything, but it's as close as we get here. And I got bit by something yesterday. I don't know what it was. It bit me right on the wrist. I don't remember getting bit. I mean, it just started hurting last night, and it kept me up a little bit
Sounds like you have Democrats up in the woods there.
Something with foul oral hygiene. Because I'll tell you, if I could ever find out
coming, but you can feel their bites.
I'll tell you what, if I could find out what this was, and first of all I'd kill every one of them on the earth. But the second thing is man, this thing had some powerful poison in it, venom. I mean, it pretty much paralyzed my hand. It swelled it up, and halfway during the day, it started creeping up my arm, and that's when I started getting nervous. I think, uh-oh, this might be blood poisoning. I might have to get to the doctor, but then it settled down, and if it's okay by tomorrow, I'll let it go. I'm not a big go to the doctor kind of guy. And I know that ticks people like you off, Norway. I know medical people, but
no, not necessarily. But what it could, I mean, this sounds like a spider to me.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it was a spider.
Yeah, but it could be an allergic reaction to something else. And yeah, when you have swelling, the problem with swelling is that it can block off nerves, but even worse, it can block off the vascular flow to
arteries,
that part of your body.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. So and that's a chop off.
Right.
If your tissue starts dying, so it is worth keeping an eye on. Personally, and I don't say that you guys should do this, but personally, if I have an allergic reaction to some insect bite, I just chuck down a big doses of vitamin D and vitamin C, and I've never had any problems with it. So
I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that. I have plenty of both too. I'll hit that right after the show. That's a good idea. I mean, I took my normal dose yesterday, but maybe I'll double it up. But anyway, we'll be all right.
And I usually take several grams of vitamin C, and vitamin C is, I think it is God's own vitamin. I know that all vitamins are God's own vitamins, but especially C, I've seen it do something absolutely miraculous when it comes to infections and when it comes to anaphylactic shocks. So if you got nothing else at hand, it won't kill you taking a healthy, good several gram dose of vitamin C.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you got to understand. One time, Norway's very knowledgeable on this stuff, and he sent me about a 6-page dissertation on how to take vitamins. And I'm looking at this, and I'm going, man, you know way too much about vitamins. I'm looking at this. I think you get them from the lab. Yeah, you know what I mean?
No, but the
nothing wrong with that.
It's really simple because vitamins are substances that are known to the body, and if you can treat something, you can't treat every disease with vitamins. But if you can treat some disease with vitamins, you will have very few, if any, side effects, and you will get a faster cure. So I'm a real big fan of what's known as orthomolecular medicine, which is treating with natural substances like vitamins, minerals, hormones, fatty acids, amino acids, etc.
See what I mean, ladies and gentlemen? What's that called again?
Orthomolecular medicine.
Never heard that before. You're my man, no doubt about it. All right,
it was invented by an American double Nobel Prize winner, Mr. Linus Pauling.
Outstanding.
Linus Pauling. So, very good medicine indeed.
Okay, let's switch gears a little bit here, and let's talk about something that is. It seems that we have lost our footing as conservatives when it comes to this. Let me just say what the article says, because it's why I brought it here. If you are not defending Louis Farrakhan, you're doing free speech wrong. Now, the verbatim text was Louis Farrakhan and Alex Jones. But my point is, is that there's a lot of conservatives, Norway, that are applauding Louis Farrakhan being shut down by Facebook. It's really unbelievable to me. I mean, this is something that if you don't understand the concept, it is very dangerous when you start chiming in. Free speech is designed for speech that pisses you off, not for speech that you agree with. And Louis Farrakhan fits that bill to a T. Now, I'm not saying that he should be authorized to incite riots or anything like that. But for him to get shut down on Facebook is no different than me getting shut down on Facebook, Norway. This is a serious issue, and we have to make sure we're on the right side of the argument.
Yeah, there are laws against, like you say, inciting riots. There are laws against threatening to kill people or instigating other people to kill people. And I mean, those laws are necessary because, of course, there will be radicals that will start advocating for, exterminating the Jews and things like that, which, of course, should be deemed illegal and punishable. But here's the gist. Free speech, apart from those exceptions, there should be absolutely no exception to free speech. I mean, anybody should be able to say whatever they want. I'm not saying that Louis Farrakhan here is entitled to, have a 24/7 coverage by mainstream media. What I'm saying is that if he wants to speak, if he wants to post something on social media, he should be free to do so. God knows I disagree with practically every word that comes out of that muddled brain of his, but I will defend until death his right to speak the way he speaks.
And Democrats used to be like that. My brother used to say the same thing, but you're not hearing that anymore. You're just not. And like I said, when you hear people on our side that are okay with the banning, let's dig a little bit deeper into this. Silicon Valley's tyrants blacklisted Farrakhan and Alex Jones, but also Laura Loomer and Paul Joseph Watson, who might drive you crazy, but who are not racists. That move was an ideological one. And what that means is that the acceptable free speech boundary now bumps right up against Breitbart News, Dennis Prager, Matt Drudge, Zero Hedge, Cold War Radio, and WHBJ. Of course, I added those. And that should make us a little nervous, no? Which brings me to another organization, NewsGuard, whose advertising blacklist is so sinister, it labels the establishment media's fake news as accurate. And if that doesn't show a conspiracy, I don't know what would. But here's the real bad news. NewsGuard has already moved the acceptable free speech boundary over Breitbart News and Drudge and Zero Hedge because, among others, NewsGuard is openly calling for advertisers to blacklist all of us. That means NewsGuard has moved the acceptable free speech boundary right next to the Daily Wire, the Washington Examiner, the Daily Caller, and the Daily Signal. Norway, this is something we better damn sure pay attention to because it's going to reach out and sting us one of these days.
Absolutely. And it should make people really, really nervous. I mean, America's media tyrants made another big move this week with the Poynter Institute's open call to blacklist 515 news outlets. And this blacklist does include the Daily Wire, the Washington Examiner, the Daily Caller, and the Daily Signal. And that means that the acceptable free speech boundary now lies next to National Review, the Washington Times, and the Bulwark. And I mean, it is the sign of a totalitarian nation that let this happen. I mean, I know these tech companies, these techno-fascist companies, as I call them. I know they will blame their business model on banning all these cases. But it has nothing to do with business. It has to do with one of these, well, I would say the most sacred right among free people, namely to express your thoughts freely without fear of being persecuted and without being shut down like these techno-fascists are doing now. And Congress, if there was a Congress, there should be in uproar against this. And I hope and pray that President Donald J. Trump will take immediate and strong action against this censorship, because it is absolutely unheard of, and it's a direct threat to the Republic.
It is, and I think we're almost to the point where, do we need a task force? Do we have to actually get into the schools as a national emergency concern when we have children? You think about these kids, a lot of them not very well parented, a lot of them no fathers in the house. They're about ready to give away 300 and some years of liberty that people died in very terrible ways to secure. The way they throw words around, it's just it's mind-boggling to me. And every now and then I ask myself the question. Well, I try to justify the fact that we're going to be okay, and I say, that many people in America cannot be that stupid. And sometimes I wonder.
Yeah,
ambulance going by the camp. I had to mute it out there. Go ahead.
I heard it. I hope it wasn't too serious. No, maybe it's the police coming for you.
No, I keep tabs. I keep tabs on these things. That was ambulance.
Okay. Anyway, no, one very logical, simple place to start is by removing all the tax benefits these companies have. These companies, they're raking in hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars every year through the American tax system. And if they're not willing to accept free speech on their platforms, they should have that revoked overnight.
Oh, something has to happen. There's no question about it. We already have a for-profit corporate media that is against the country. That is clear. And I'm going to show you how to validate that. Is I want you to remember back, and we're going to dig back and get some clips in going forward here of how the press treated Eric Holder's black nationalist ass when he was held in contempt of Congress, and what they're doing with Barr right now. The two cases aren't even close in seriousness, and the media laughed off the armed revolutionary that took over the Naval ROTC building at Columbia University when he was held in contempt because people died under his watch, and he's still walking around like we said on Wednesday. He's walking around tweeting and talking about Barr, and it's sickening. We need to wake up from this nightmare, man. I'm telling you, I can't take this much anymore. I'm just kidding. I agree with you. I agree wholeheartedly with you, and it is like you say, it's sickening. It's sickening watching Eric Holder making a mockery of the entire Republic of the United States of America, because that's what he's doing. He's a damn criminal, and he's holding Attorney General Barr up to a standard he never was even close to holding, and he's getting away with it. Where's the media? Where's the outcry in the media? There is none, because the media, like social media, has completely failed. Can you imagine being a young man and really having an interest in broadcast journalism and then seeing all this? You have to be an idiot to go out there and for these people, the things they say. for people to believe them, there has to be a serious dumbing down. I mean, you have to convince yourself that you don't know things that you do know if you're going to listen to CNN or Fox News. I mean, that Chris Wallace is getting so bad that Laura Ingraham had to call him out last night. You know, I mean, that's how bad he's getting. They're just, and you know, I think a lot of it is that they're encapsulated in their little bubble in D.C. for Fox News and New York for some of the other affiliates. I think they believe half the things that they say. I think that they think that we think what they think is important, and we do not.
Yeah, well, absolutely. They live in their own little bubble, in their own gated communities, far removed from the reality of the world, and especially around Washington. I mean, Washington is a really toxic, very toxic swamp, and I mean, I can't wait for the day for the Washington swamp to be drained, but things need to happen, you know, radically happen with the DOJ, with Attorney General Barr. There needs to be some accountability on these people, and so far I haven't seen that accountability at all. And you know, I don't think the Republic will survive without some kind of justice being served against all these criminals.
I agree. It's something that is imperative, and until that happens, we're pretty much stuck. I mean, because there's a lot of serious people like us that are sitting here going, hold on, man, this is ridiculous. Eric Holder and Hillary Clinton are walking around talking smack like they're never going to be held accountable for anything. But we'll talk about that later. Ladies and gentlemen, Gary S. Goldman is the nationally recognized host of Business, Politics, and Lifestyles, a weekly talk show airing on WCRN 830 in Metro Boston, Massachusetts. Good evening and welcome to Cold War Radio, sir. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr.
I'm glad to be on with you this evening.
Let me introduce my co-host on location in Norway. We call him Radio Norway.
Radio Norway, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Goldman. It's an honor and pleasure to have you on, sir.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
So I guess initially, and we'll get into some of your some bona fides here in a minute, but we want to talk a little bit about Joe Biden. He seems to be gaining a little bit of momentum, and I think personally, I think with the exposure that he is going to expose his son to, and John Kerry's son to, I'm not so sure he should have ran. But I want to listen to a clip of Biden just the other day in Pittsburgh.
China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. They can't even figure out how to deal with the fact that they have this great division between the China Sea and the mountains in the west. They can't figure out how they're going to deal with the corruption that exists within the system. I mean, they're not bad folks, but guess what? They're not competition for us. But here's where we are. We're in a situation where right now we have not only the strongest military in the world, we have led not by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. That's why the rest of the world has it referred to us. Not a joke. Come on, man. Come on, man.
I don't know, Gary. I think this guy is in the process of losing his mind, it sounds like to me.
No, it definitely sounds that. I mean, first of all, he's totally off base with his comments regarding China and just the way he's proposing them. He either didn't take much time to think this out, or there is something we should quickly get concerned about. You know, Joe Biden's best option is when he's out on the campaign trail by himself initially. I think he can sort of swing it and get through these types of town hall meetings or whatever, wherever he decides to plant himself. The problem for Joe is going to be when he starts coming up against his other Democratic opponents who have a much rigid agenda to the left that they want him to buy onto. And I think that's where it's going to go, because they're not going to take Joe's, middle of the road answers to these questions. They're going to want an answer. Joe, are you with us? Are you part of this, left progressive movement? When he's out doing a, road show by himself, he can squirm around it. I don't think he can do that once he gets into those positions. And especially if and when he gets into the debates, I think it's going to be very difficult for him.
No, I do too. And these Democrats, the old school, and they're really not. Biden is one of the original old school Democrats, but he's, I don't know, he doesn't have the seriousness about him anymore. The things that he says and where he tries to go, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is not going to have it. And Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and just even like you said, the rest of this field, I'm actually looking very forward to the primary debate season, Gary. I mean, this is something that they're going to expose themselves, and I think they've made another mistake, especially with Buttigieg. I don't think that America is ready for Time Magazine's cover to have two guys kissing each other. I don't think we're there.
No, I think it's a total miscalculation, and it's going to come back to haunt them. But look at the Democratic primary is going to be very interesting. They all chum up to one another when they come out with some sort of statement, whether it's Bernie and his felons should be voting, and the Boston Marathon bomber should have the right to vote while he's in jail, and he's doubled down on this comment now, talking about it's a race issue because there are so many black individuals in prison, and we just trying to hold back blacks or minorities or Latinos from voting. I think Biden and Bernie are going to be the ones to really watch, even though everything that I've thought the last year or so that the Democratic Party did not want old white men running for office. I have a funny feeling it's going to be one of them, and I'm really starting to get the feel that it could be Bernie Sanders. I mean, in the Northeast here, in the Boston market, especially with all the kids, they love Bernie. They love the fact that he wants to hand them things and give them things. He does it. It's like telling one side of the equation and not the other, and then you go take the test, and you're like, now what do I do? And that's what's going to happen, because they're going to figure out that there isn't an endless sump of money that will continue to do the things that Bernie wants to do, and hence Bernie, a very wealthy man who became wealthy off of democracy, contrary to what he preaches all day.
Right, and I think that what you're going to, and I've said this, I don't have a whole lot of people agreeing with me yet, but I don't think that the nominee is in the field yet. I think that there's people in the background that are waiting for the evisceration that is going to happen over the next several months, and then Michelle Obama is going to come out, and that's going to scare me. But that's just me.
It could be, and I'll tell you, the other individual he's not going to run on the Democratic Party, but I think it would have given them a lot of traction, was the CEO from Starbucks, Schultz.
Did he say he's not going to run now?
He's not going to. Well, he hasn't said he's not going to run, but he said he's not going to run as a Democrat. Because he had some total disagreements with them. But he would have been a strong Democratic candidate, very strong candidate. I don't believe. I'm not believe everything he says, but I think he brings some things out there, and he's willing to sort of look both ways. From the center, right, left, a little up. He doesn't make a point to say which one he is. But he likes to throw the stuff out there and look at it from a couple of different perspectives. I think if I was to bet, he'd stay more to the left, but at least he's willing to look, and he's willing to have conversation. Whoever it is has to be able to want to have a conversation with the American people, whether they agree with him or disagree, because that's how you learn how to better yourself and how to better the policies that you're coming up with to help the masses, not just a particular group of individuals. But, that's an art that's long gone in politics in America.
Right, you're right. Let me ask you one final question, and I'm going to turn it over to Norway. But I want to ask you about, since you're in Boston, I want to ask you about Boston Democrats. How do they feel about these the communists, the leftists that were for allowing the Boston Marathon bomber to vote? Was that an outcry? I mean, I would imagine that it would have been, but then again, you never know.
No, look, there was an extreme outcry. Obviously, those on the right are devastated over it. Those center, maybe a little to the left, they were bothered by it. But there is a faction in this Boston area, especially with all the colleges and schools, that go way over to the left, and they're okay with it. They not only want the felons and the those that have committed horrific crimes that are in jail voting. They want illegals in general to start voting, irregardless. You don't necessarily have to commit a crime, be an American citizen, or here on some sort of visa that allows you to somehow vote. But they want every illegal to vote as well within the country. So look at it. Very sympathetic hearts, very sympathetic minds here in the Northeast, here in Boston. We see it in our, in our state legislature. It's predominantly a Democratic-run legislature. We have crazy things going on now where, laws are being changed, whether it's shoplifting, assaulting police officers, breaking and entering to homes. The DAs are changing the laws to make them just about worthless so that the police can go out and arrest you, but the charges are going to be dropped if you can show why you had to break into your home and stay there for the evening, or break into a store or steal something from the store. If you can show a need, then you're not going to be prosecuted. The poor business guy still has to pay for that stuff, but you're not going to be prosecuted.
Unbelievable. I mean, even for a Norwegian like me, living in a pretty socialist country like Norway, I find that really radical. I mean, there is anyone can demonstrate a need for something that's in the shops. That's why we have these shops, But the normal way of transaction is that you pay money and you get something in return for that.
Yeah,
so
assault and battery on a police officer, no response anymore. You're not going to be charged. You're not going to be charged. I mean, and look without accountability and without laws, and look, the men and women of blue are a fine line between civility and chaos. And as soon as we start eroding that, we're really creating a very, very dangerous society. And, we have our district attorneys this week suing ICE because we had a judge in the district court stop the proceeding, allowed a legal individual, to leave the courtroom. He was he had an ICE detainer. ICE was waiting for him. He said ICE detainer, I think it was drugs, and it may have been some sort of assault charges. I don't recall. But she let him leave, and ICE found out, and they recently indicted her. And the liberals and those on the left here are losing their minds that ICE shouldn't be involved in our politics. ICE is getting too involved in our legal system. ICE is here to protect us. Look, ICE is not knocking at doors and say, "Come with me, little Johnny. Come with me. You're here illegally." They're going to the courthouses to grab those that are here illegally, causing harm to individuals on the streets, the taxpayers, the people of the community. And our DAs, who we're paying for, are more concerned about the rights of the criminal illegal alien, than they are the taxpayers within the communities whom they've been elected to represent. It is mind-boggling. It is if they don't get this under control, they're going to have vigilantism and chaos in the streets of Massachusetts and probably a lot of other cities. That along with the sanctuary cities that are going on. People are tired of this. People are tired of what's going on. Their money's being spent on individuals who are here illegally. We complain about infrastructure, about our schools, about our elderly, our veterans. We don't have. There's only so much money in the pie, and if we're giving them to those that are here illegally and they're obtaining large sums of benefits, there's definitely not going to be the money there to take care of what we need to take care of.
Absolutely, and I've said it for some time now because. I have the privilege of being a foreign spectator looking in at what's going on in America, and I think that maybe I can bring on some angles that are easily missed in the everyday life in America. But I've had this feeling, and I've said it a lot of times here on Cold War Radio, that the American population is actually being exterminated. They're being exterminated, like you just told our listeners through the erosion of the society within, but also being replaced by a foreign population and foreign ideologies, and it's coming on so fast that I don't think Americans have woken up yet. Do you see any grand awakening, which I believe is necessary for the survival of the republic? Do you see any grand awakening coming along?
No, I don't see any of that. Look, the American public is in this like holding pattern. At times they're afraid to talk and say what's on their mind because they're afraid of political correctness and what they're going to say may hurt somebody. Whereas I've always said that political correctness says nothing about telling the truth. If you're telling the truth, you shouldn't be afraid to do it. But there's so many repercussions. Everybody's worried about the repercussion. What's it going to do to my friendship, my jobs, whatever. Because of that, our eyes are closed. We're not watching what's going on, and we're getting further and further down the line. We're at some point we're going to wake up and say, "What happened? How did we end up in this position that we're in right now?"
Yep, you're 100% right, and you know it's sad, and people on the right, especially white people. Let's just get real here. Are not very good at defending themselves.
No,
they're just not. It's sickening to me. It's the reason Donald Trump got elected. This is something that we've watched the Republicans in Congress and even in our neighborhoods that will just turn the other cheek and nothing ever happens to the guy that slapped them. You know what I mean? And this is something that until we can get out of that, until we can stop being afraid to stand up for what is right and what is just, they're going to keep taking advantage of it because, believe me, they know it. They know what our weak points are. And to me, that's one of the biggest ones. We talked about political correctness. Political correctness was a Soviet military tactic, and it worked.
Right.
From back in the 1950s, right. It worked. It made people shut up. It made minorities, it gave them much more strength than they deserve because political correctness does not apply to them. And I'm talking about all kind of minorities, not race. You know,
right. Yep.
The social norms have been beat up.
When we look at what some of these congresswomen are saying, Ilhan Omar, and they say it without any jux, that they feel free to rip apart this country on any day of the week, on any level, when they were taken into this country and given whatever they needed to succeed and move forward. And it's okay to criticize or make recommendations if you see something. Let's talk how we can make something better. But I'm constantly hearing from people that have come to this country just negative talk on how bad America is, or the Americans are trying to manipulate this, or the Americans are trying to manipulate that. Well, you know, there's a lot of things the Americans do in foreign countries, but it's usually in conjunction with a government, and we're trying to strengthen and make that country better. When I hear that, what I think it was Ilhan Omar this week say that she's afraid because of 9/11, the people that went through 9/11, she's afraid of them. I mean, I really had to read it and look at it and say it a couple of times to myself because, I mean, we could flip that around. I think there were a lot of American people that are concerned about the people that took the buildings down through the planes, many of whom we hope are wonderful people, but are in this country. So to start spreading that type of propaganda and fear-mongering, to me, is psychologically it's dangerous, and it does nothing to help propel a country forward. It's a way of manipulating your narrative to set a tone or a plan that you have in place, and that's what concerns me at times.
And, you know, it doesn't help, and this might strike a nerve and it might not, but it doesn't help when George W. Bush comes out right after the attacks and calls Islam the religion of peace. That did not help matters at all. And they send people back to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia just beheaded 37 Shiites or however many it was. And that is, I think that is the root of why we are where we are, because we picked the wrong people to be in charge. We picked these people that are more concerned with their Thurston Howell lifestyle than they are with getting things done. And it's just, For instance, I heard yesterday that United States Steel. This show is based in Pittsburgh. United States Steel was going to put over $1 billion in Pittsburgh area works, and the mayor is probably mad as hell. You know, it's just he hates our heritage. He hates the idea that we're industrialists and we built the world, and he wants to have more artists and more free concerts in the park. You know, but he doesn't care about the steel mills. I'm furious about that. I really am, and it's something that we have to gird our loins a little bit, man. We got to get ready for a little bit of battle here, and we need to win one for once. Yes, and you know, winning has become a dirty word in the United States of America. To me, winning is a great word, and you know, there's different types of wins. But winning, all in all, is a good word, and I think it strengthens the country physically, mentally, emotionally, as well as it should. And you know, but this nonsense of, you know, we shouldn't win, or we don't want to be the dominant one. Well, I do believe the United States should be the dominant factor, the dominant country. Hear, hear. Why, if we're not the dominant country, then why does everybody want to come here? Why are we having the crises that we're having if we're not a dominant country? Other people I see see the value. I think sometimes the American people have lost vision, have lost sight as to what all the good things are in this country.
Absolutely, and I think that is an extremely important point. I've said it many times that the minute the flame of liberty goes out in America, the entire world will be cast into a very dark, very deep abyss. And I think that if people from other countries, you know, we have a lot of Norwegians that love America.
Yep.
But it's very hard to convince other people why it's important to love America, why it's important to support her, when you look at America's own population actually trying to tear down the country. So, right. I mean, you talk a lot about personal responsibility, accountability, strong family structures, and education. If our listeners, each and every one listening to this show now, if you should give them a couple of good advices how that can be rectified, what would that be?
Well, I think, you know, there's a lot of things missing in society today. The first one is that a stronger family unit. You know, strong family units build wealth, and I'm not just talking monetary wealth. They build wealth. They build knowledge within their family, within the community. People start up businesses. People, just become doctors, lawyers. They go on to college. But we can't do this without some sort of structure where there's a family, it's not torn apart family, where mothers and fathers are involved in their kids and their education. And that's how you grow the society. That's how you teach kids a value system. You know, I always believe every one of us should have a moral and ethical compass, and we should have a value system that we work by. If we're missing things from the get-go, the foundation up, from when we're younger and we don't have our mentors and we're not being taught properly in school, as we get to the top of the building, it's not going to be as strong because we don't have the structure there. We may have sat through this, but we don't have the structure. You need the structure in all phases of life. And I think for society to be successful, and I think one of the reasons the American society was always successful, it didn't matter if you were blue collar or white collar. You had a family structure, you had a belief system, you believed in some sort of religion or some sort of something spiritual. And I think that's what it takes to get a country strong, running, and productive. And when you don't have some of those factors, and groups take over and sort of manipulate you because you may not be involved in a religious group, and we can change your demeanor by getting you involved in things that you shouldn't be doing, and you don't have the family structure, you can see how quickly we can end up with a city like Chicago, Illinois, where there's horrific gun battles, Detroit, Michigan, because there's been a lack of education. Parents haven't taught their kids what to do because of the family structure. And it's a mentoring system
and it's a growing system, and there's a lot of that missing in this country. I'm hoping we can figure a way to get back at some of those values. I'm not sure we can get back to all of them, but I think it's an integral part of the country as a whole, and I think in the past it's what made America very strong, secure, and wanted people to come here. People came for many of those reasons and values.
Do you think a really quick question? How do we get rid of Hollywood and entertainment? Because the way I see it, the biggest threat against the family is actually the entertainment industry.
The entertainment industry is very difficult, but you know what? It's going to be out there. There's always been entertainment in all different types of level. I think we've all seen it. But if you have a strong family structure and values, a mother and father who agree on the core values that they want their children to be developed by, Johnny, you can't come home and play those videos all day. You can't do that. You do your homework. And if you let them play, you have to monitor what they do. Too many families, and some of it's because mother and fathers are working, and I'm not making excuses, but they have to work, and there's nobody there to help take care of the kids. The kids are allowed to run amok. But the entertainment values in this country, our children mentor people that I think are, in my opinion, are far from anyone I'd want my child mentoring. But because they're a celebrity and sports figures to some degree, we've sort of put this label on them that what they say trumps what we have to say. And whether they're any more educated than us or they come from a better family or not, it doesn't matter. And I think that's the type of stuff we have to sort of look at and put back into perspective. And it's it's a like almost a chain of command. How the family structure works, how the friend structure works, and where entertainment should be in your whole life process. How much value do you want to put on entertainment? There's different types of entertainment. We could be breaking it down, from music to poetry. There's some good, there's some bad. But I don't need, certain entertainers on the TV telling me about politics or who I should vote for or why a particular candidate is rotten. Now, that person's entitled to his opinion. He may not be, but he's not entitled to his facts if his facts are phony. But we have gone from a society where even our news broadcasts are no more the facts. They've turned to the facts, and then I'll put my opinion in and tell you what I think. And that's why we're sort of like in a mixing bowl and constantly being tossed around, and nobody can really get their hand on what's going on.
No, you're right. And the thing is as I said about political correctness, the destruction of our institution and norms was also a military tactic. It's called cultural Marxism.
Right.
And it has been brick by brick. All of these things have been taken out. They've been taken out of our institutions. When's the last time you saw a sitcom that had a male that was the charge of the family and there wasn't something wrong with him? You don't have that anymore. You don't have cowboys and Indians. You don't have the things that we grew up with. And it's hard to try to explain to children of today, when I say children, I mean up to like 40 years old, how these things are important and how they are actually the foundation of our Judeo-Christian founding. And, you talk to them about it and they look at you like you're nuts, but I guess that's something that we're going to have to deal with throughout the years.
Continue to work on. We can't quit.
That's it. You're right. And why don't you, Mr. Gary S. Goldman, WCRN 830, tell us about your show.
So my show is a couple days a week. We talk business, politics, and lifestyles. We like to bring guests on and pick their brains and then have the callers call in and sort of decipher what's been said. But, just like most shows right now, we're dealing with, the hot topics, the Mueller report, the investigations. We do try to get into, some of the positive things that are out there and open people's eyes to as much information as they can and without too much of a slant. I mean, some will say that my show is a little conservative. It is conservative, but I'm open to anybody that wants to call to discuss a topic with me. Like I said earlier, I love opinion, but I don't like fake facts. So that's one thing that I sort of clamp down on because that just doesn't get us anywhere. But we like to take the tough issues and get the expose things when they need to be exposed, get certain for the government officials or whomever on. Jerome Corsi was on last week. We talked to him in depth. We've had him on a few times with Anthony Scaramucci. Get their feeling of things. People in the administration, people on running for the president on the left. Try to get somebody from those groups on and just talk to everybody to get the information out there without putting our narrative on it, just the facts, just discussing the facts, and making people use their minds to start thinking again.
Now, your goal is to show how political correctness, victimization, and many of the progressive, we call that communism here on the show, liberal policies have duped the American people, especially minorities and women, into false hopes and promises. The interesting thing, ladies and gentlemen, Gary has been involved in the construction industry for over 25 years. He has a wide array of experience as the owner of multi-million-dollar landscape, irrigation, snow removal, and pavement maintenance companies. And now he's on the radio just like us. This is how we take it back, Gary. Thanks for coming on the show. Any final comments?
No, my pleasure. I'd love to come back sometime and chat. It was a great conversation.
Norway?
Have a nice...
Excellent. We could use you over here, Gary, because we just had another snowfall. So
I've had enough snow for the winter. I don't want to see any more snow.
There you go.
Hey,
but have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for coming on the show. We hope to have you back again.
All righty.
Gary S. Goldman, ladies and gentlemen, Boston, Massachusetts radio talk show host, right in our wheelhouse, as they say. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Cold War Radio on WHBJ Digital Talk. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You are on WHBJ Digital Talk.
She told me her name was AOC. She was in D.C. She said, excuse me, but can you please pay my rent? I cannot afford my apartment. Come on, girl. She started talking about politics like a socialist. Been for too long, it was obvious. This chick is nuts. She probably rides on the short bus. That smoked a lot of crack. Got hit in the face with a frying pan. She's borderline retarded, and her policies a wag. Don't try to speak with logic, cause she just won't understand. Come on, that AOC is not suitable for Congress. She's just a girl who dances on rooftops. Someone please just make her stop.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation. Well, isn't this the liberal philosophy? The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Their 2020 platform sounds identical to policies already tried and now failing in the collapsed socialist state of Venezuela.
You know, it's funny, sometimes American journalists talk about how bad a country is because people are lining up for food. That's a good thing.
I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it.
Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
Abolish ICE. It's a growing call from Democrats to get rid of the agency that arrests and removes illegal immigrants in the U.S.
I think we should get rid of ICE.
We need to probably think about starting from scratch.
Why is it good for us to pay for the health care bills of people who snuck in here against our law?
It's good for people who are in our country, who are contributing to this country's success.
Or did it also apply to, I don't know, gang members or vagrants? I think they were covered too, weren't they? These hot-button issues like free college, free healthcare, once thought to be radical, appear to be the starting line in this Democratic primary.
The three core demands of the National Day of Action are free public college, a cancellation of student debt, and a $15 an hour minimum wage for people who work on the campus.
And how's that going to be paid?
Great question. So...
Do you call yourself a radical?
Yeah, if that's what radical means, call me a radical.
Nancy Pelosi, do you recognize her as the leader for the House Democrats?
Of course.
We, as you are aware, we are diligent.
I think one way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy. So please, bring on the recession. Sorry if that hurts people.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, you get out and you tell them they're not welcome.
When they go low, we kick them.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar under attack for anti-Semitic tweets.
Can you respond to that?
No, thank you.
You used the term the occupation of Palestine. What did you mean by that? I think what I meant is that are increasing. I am not the expert.
They are the future face of the Democratic Party. They are not only anti-Israel, but often that anti-Zionism morphs into anti-Semitism.
Either the Klansman or the guy in blackface is right now the Democratic governor of Virginia, Ralph Northam.
Northam's nickname was a racial slur.
They called me Coon Man. I did participate in a dance contest in which I darkened my face as part of a Michael Jackson costume. I actually won the contest because I had learned how to do the moonwalk. My wife says inappropriate circumstances.
Tonight! Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts with a DNA test to prove her Native American ancestry.
Her DNA test claiming she's part Native American appears to be backfiring.
Tonight, the leaders of the Cherokee Nation are speaking out against Senator Elizabeth Warren's campaign video touting her Native American ancestry.
Have you considered dropping out of the race?
You're talking about zero carbon emissions, no use of fossil fuels within 12 years.
That is the goal. It's ambitious. And
how is that possible? You're talking about everybody having to drive an electric car?
Admitting in earlier drafts that, quote, we aren't sure that we'll be able to fully get rid of farting cows and airplanes that fast.
I really don't like their policy of taking away your car, of taking away your airplane flights, of let's hop a train. You're not allowed to own cows anymore. There are a lot of problems.
It was stunning how quickly some Democrats jumped on this proposal.
Oh, it's impractical. Oh, it's too expensive. Keeping track of Democrats who might be driving a hard left, and a lot of them happy to do so.
Socialism is apparently becoming mainstream.
America will never be a socialist country. Never. We're born free, we will live free, and we will die free.
This has been a great movement. They try like hell. They cannot stand what we've done. But we're doing the right thing. And I will never, ever, ever let you down.
We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again.
And welcome back to Cold War Radio, live on WHBJ Digital Talk. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., your host. My co-host from the land of the fjords, Radio Norway, is on my wing. Let's get back into this. Yep. Let's talk about unemployment, Norway. Lowest for women since 1953.
Wow. Low unemployment, high jobs, high wages, big consumer confidence, major productivity, and no inflation. It's totally awesome. We're killing it on the economy.
Yes, indeed. We are killing it on the economy. Now, I will say that unless we can put enough goods out there to handle all that fake cash that went out with the Bush and Obama administrations with the quantitative easing, which for those of you not following financial jargon is printing money electronically. We're bound to get some inflation back, but maybe not. I mean, you never know. I mean, we're hitting new plateaus, Norway. I mean, it's something that when you have the records that you have that keep on getting smashed, have you noticed? And this didn't start with the Trump administration. As far as I know, it started during the Obama administration, when every single month they gave an estimate on GDP and growth, and then a week later, every single month of every year of the Obama administration, they came up with a secondary report that said, oh, unexpectedly, it was lower than we thought. I don't know if you noticed that, but it was unexpectedly every single month. And they're doing the same thing now, except now the news is good, and it's unexpectedly better. But these people that are reporting the numbers are not very good at it.
No, but I mean, that clip you just played, the White House Twitter account put it out a couple of hours ago, and I mean, when you look at Larry Kudlow presenting that, he looks like he's 21, you know. So,
I know. He's a rock star.
He can't hide the enthusiasm. He is absolutely elated over this, and he's got reason to. I mean,
sure,
these are solid numbers. I mean,
he's half the architect of it.
Businesses go up everywhere.
Absolutely. Sean from California, hello. What's on your mind?
Hey, Hutch and Norway. You know, I got to say, the job economy is great. I mean, I'm finally being able to get into the trade school in May 6th, which is, well, what do you know, next week. So I'm going to be very happy to start learning a job skill and get my butt out of California.
Congratulations.
Good
it's
for
going
you.
to take me months to get it done, but hey, I'm so tired of California. It sucks so badly here.
Why you stay there?
I want to move. I got family here.
I hear you. That's the same reason I stay where I am. Just a fact of life, and we have to try to.
My mother.
How do they feel about the state?
My mom's a Democrat. My brother, well, he's just what do you call it? One of those guys. Oh, he doesn't vote and he's lazy.
Oh,
I try to do everything I can to educate him and tell him, hey, wake the hell up, because my mom ain't going to be around long enough for you to just, stay around and sit on your butt. So,
hey, Sean, a very smart thing to do if you feel you don't make any headway is actually, instead of giving them the solution, ask them questions. What would you do? What do you think about, etc.? Because that makes them think, and then you can just give them small corrections here and there, and before you even know it, they're going to vote Trump 2020. So
I am giving them that kind of line of questions.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's working so far, but it's not really having much of a pow impact, if you will, because they want to feel like they're in the right and I'm in the wrong, and it's really frustrating, but I think I'm making headway.
Well, welcome to the club. I'm the same way. My entire family, well, no, my younger brother was conservative, but the rest of them, Democrat, but they were Democrats from back in the Democrat days, not the communist days. I said many times, my father was killed in 1982, and he was a big Democrat guy, but I was only 21 at the time, and I really, so many times, have wished that I could have sit down with my father with a cocktail and sat there and talked about life, and I guarantee you he would not have been for all this communist stuff. He was in the military too, and it's just, I hope everything works out for you, Sean. It's a lonely thing. I've been there.
Yeah, and it's like every day California just seems to get worse because all of us are moving away, the conservatives, the middle class people. And, you are right about the thing what they do is they bring their policies that they've lived under for so long to the other states. And, I hate to say this, but you know what? I think it's time to say, hey, start questioning where these people come from. If they move from another state, hey, where are you from? Oh, we're from California. Get the hell out. Get out. We don't want your crap here. Get out.
Hey, Sean, promise me one thing. Never give up hope. And just remember, if you use that platonic way of inquiry with your mother by asking smart questions, she will turn around eventually. But, it won't be overnight, because if she's been a Democrat all her life, that is something that is deeply ingrained in her. And you need to let her have some time to think your excellent questions over. And I'm sure it will work out for you.
Yeah, I keep telling her, hey, okay, so you want to live here in California because, well, my sister lives here too. She's a youngin', but it's like, well, you got to think about the rest of your family here. Okay, if you want us to move, which I'm pushing that, actually. I'm pushing for us to move to a different state. But she says, no, I want to stay because it's the most beautiful state. It's got the best weather. We hardly have any earthquakes. I'm like, okay, what happens if that really does hit the fan?
Yeah, we don't have earthquakes
either. The other states have tornadoes and stuff. We can rebuild, but if California gets that one big boom earthquake, we're screwed. I'm not staying around for that. That's why I'm moving my butt as fast as I can.
But Sean, life is full of what ifs, and it's the here and now that really counts. So focus on that and never give up hope. Like I say, I know it's hard for you living out there. It's hard for me living in Norway as well. But I love my country, and I absolutely refuse to give up. At least without a battle.
Hold on. It's hard to live in California. It's hard to live in Norway. What about me?
You got to see
You can look at me.
Obama, 2012, he's going to win, baby. He's the man. Biden was down here, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Obama!
What do you like most about the Obama administration?
That, let's see, healthcare. Yeah. And
schools.
And what else do I like about him? I like everything about Obama, basically.
What does it mean that Biden out here?
Greatest day ever to have Biden here, man. That was the best experience ever in my life. To
Get out.
in person like that.
What through your mind? Did you get goosebumps?
Oh, yeah. Big time, man.
Those aren't goosebumps. Those are words.
I love Obama, and I love Biden, too. Because Biden's all business.
Really
He's
nuts.
all business, and he'll tell you how it is. And that's why
Here it is. Wait for it.
I appreciate it.
And I love Obama.
Oh, God, no.
I had to do it, ladies and gentlemen. I had to do it.
Hey, wait, I had one more question. Now, this thing where they have all these blue states are trying to omit President Trump on the ballot of 2020, can they really do that?
They can try, but it's not going to work. They can try all these different things. They can try getting rid of the Electoral College. They can try. I heard that Abrams down in Georgia said that we don't have to concede elections anymore. This is going to play out for a little bit, and they're going to pretend like they have some kind of majority. They've never had a majority. Their majority has always been illegal votes. Don't worry too much about it. Just stick to the basics. Campaign for your candidates. And if it comes down to it, we'll go to court over it. Now we have some adults at the federal level, thanks to Donald Trump, on the courts. And no thanks to Bill Kristol and all the never-Trumpers out there.
I hear we're supposed to be getting conservatives on our Ninth Circuit court. They've already put some on.
They've already
Oh,
put
thank
someone.
God.
No, this is
God.
one area where Mitch McConnell has done good diligence. Not anywhere else, but this is one area. Sean, you have a great weekend, and thanks for calling, brother.
You too. Peace out.
All right. Sean from California, ladies and gentlemen, one of our young people that gives us hope from day to day here at the show. You know we're not getting to our stories, man. You know that, right? I mean, it's just not gonna happen. We'll give it a shot. But Chelsea Handler, who the hell is Chelsea Handler anyway? Is she an actress or who is she? I see her name
No idea.
all the time, and I don't know who she is. You know, another meth head white woman. I don't know what it is. But she says we're taking it up another notch. We need to impeach Barr and Trump. I mean, I think they're hurting their cause, Norway. I do. I don't think, I talk to people every single day, and even liberals, and I don't think this stuff is going to sell. I think that Donald Trump, and I pray to God the rest of the people on the tickets downstream are successful because they've gone batshit crazy.
What do you mean? The rest of the people down the Democrat?
Okay. I use too much vernacular there. I'm sorry. The other Republicans that are running for office in 2020, I hope they are as successful as the president's going to be. The president is going to be.
Oh yeah.
Just imagine if you look back at the Reagan administration and you look at his second term, he won 49 states, and the only reason that he lost one was because that's where Mondale, it was either Mondale or Dukakis. Mondale was from.
Walter Mondale,
Minnesota, I think.
That's right.
And he won every other state. And I don't see how the president doesn't do the same thing. I mean, you cannot watch MSNBC and take it serious unless you are. And one thing I meant to tell Sean, and the call was going too long. Sean, one thing about your parents and other people, other Democrats, it is much, much, much easier to be fooled than it is to admit that you've been fooled. At some point, they'll do it. At some point, they will do it. But it takes a long time, and it's embarrassing, frankly. Marlene from Eugene, good evening. Go ahead, Norway, and then Marlene, pick it up next.
No, I would just say that very few wiser words have ever been spoken because you are drilling right to the core of the issue. You are absolutely right, and this is one of the reasons why the pollsters went on an iceberg like the Titanic in the 2016 election, because people realized that Donald Trump was the real stuff and he was going to do great things for America, but they wouldn't admit it to other people. They wouldn't admit that they had been Democrats all their life and they had been wrong. And that completely toppled the pollsters. And, you didn't even see Fox call a possible victory for Trump. Everybody were wrong about their polls.
Marlene, what's on your mind tonight?
Oh, gosh. A couple things. First, I was thinking at first, and I really have thought this, then I realized that I was wrong, but I was thinking that when we're talking about Louis Farrakhan and all these other people getting banned off Facebook, my first thought was, I could see Louis Farrakhan getting banned because he spews a lot of horrible stuff. Then I realized, and I think you kind of helped me to see that I was basically wrong, because if I say that about him, then what if you get banned or I get banned?
Excellent.
Even though
mission accomplished. Mission accomplished.
Thank
you. That's what I was trying to do. Sometimes, we get emotional and we get hurt and we get offended.
I wasn't really.
No, I'm just talking in general.
I just kind of get grossed out.
Something like that comes up, and you listen to him, and you think, yeah. No, that's not the way it works. If we're going to be for something, let's be for it.
Right.
You know, that's
And the
really.
other thing I was listening. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I guess I can add to the complaint club too. You were talking about how hard it is to live in Pennsylvania. Well, shucks, it's not exactly peaches and cream out here in Oregon either.
You got that right. I mean, you've got that. You've got that.
Yeah, we got
that. What is it? The longshoremen, not the
we got the
longshoremen's
comic-
union. What's the union out there that's so bad? Is it the stevedores or? It's at the port. You know, at probably.
It's up in Portland.
Portland. That's it.
Oh, dang it!
Those guys are horrible, man. Those guys are the worst. That is a communist union if I ever saw one. That's Jimmy Hoffa all day long up there. Those guys, I remember when they shut that port down, Marlene, and made food spoil out in the port. You know, out in the harbor. They wouldn't unload it. It's the ILU or International Longshoremen's Union is what it was, I think. But yeah, you're right.
That sounds right, though. I think it does.
Yeah, I mean, these are the kind of people that let the grain out there just to spoil, man. It's really hideous. So what's up for your weekend? What's going on this weekend, Marlene?
Well, I'm listening to you guys, but the other thing that I noticed, I was watching a video and I have it in the chat room. They were talking about Venezuela and how we might, like I say, underline might, have to might have to take military action down there because the idiot that's president, he won't let the other guy who beat him in the election become the new president. And so the guy, it was relating to kind of a Manuel Noriega 2.0, basically.
Yeah, that was in Panama, but I don't think.
Panama. I'm sorry, I get it.
That's all right. That's okay. It's all right. You know, it's. I'm torn. I really am. I kind of feel that I should take the Pat Buchanan position and say, let Venezuela figure out Venezuela. And if it becomes a situation where it is going to involve national security interests of the United States, then let Congress declare war. You know, but other than that, I'm tired. I'm done with this police state bullshit. I am. I lived through it my whole life.
I am too.
You know what I mean? I got sent. I got sent places.
I see it, and
you know, and it's just to the fact. It's to the point where when you do that, I'll never forget. John Murtha, Representative Johnstown, Pennsylvania, former Marine Corps officer, drove around in his congressional car with an M16 in the trunk. And this guy called the Marines baby killers in Haditha. You know, it's sickening. The man...
What a hypocrite.
He made his entire career off getting federal money from the military to pump into Johnstown to a worthless airport that has the same control tower as LaGuardia and has one flight a day, or maybe two, into Washington Dulles, and the federal government subsidized every ticket $100. You know, I remember when journalism used to be journalism, I remember they rolled into that airport and they talked to some of them baggage handlers, and they said, well, if you have one flight, what do you do the rest of the day? Nothing. Nothing. And there's a big picture of John Murtha on the airport. It looks like Mao Zedong. They worship the guy because he brought them goodies. You know, and that's just I'm tired. I'm tired of the political wars. If we're going to go to war, let's go to war as a whole country.
No, I can agree with you on that. I really can, because I really don't want that to happen. I really don't.
Well, I'll tell you, if
they figure it out themselves.
If you talk to our heroes, and they're my heroes too, but if you talk to John Bolton and the rest of them, Pompeo, they're going to be much more eager to get American blood on the jungle floor. That's just me. I'm not. That's not ideological. That's me. That's the way I feel, and I've started feeling that way about 5 years ago.
I guess the way I looked at it,
Look at it this way. Let's look at the Cold War, right? Let's look at the Cold War. We spent trillions of dollars on the Cold War, and we lost. We did. Pittsburgh has a communist mayor that's going to try to ban guns. He's communist. We lost. Vietnam, we lost. We lost everywhere. Korea, we lost. Yep. We lost every goddamn place we've ever been. We lost Iraq.
Yeah.
And we're going to lose Afghanistan.
Yep, we sure as hell did.
Because the country is not behind it. The country is not behind it. The people that are building the tanks are behind it. But as far as Joe doesn't even know we're in Afghanistan in a war. Joe doesn't know. I'm talking about Joe Public. Joe doesn't know that we're in Djibouti.
Right.
In Africa. He doesn't know that we're in Somalia and in Yemen and every damn where else.
Right.
And we shouldn't be any of those places. Yeah. And that's the reason John Brennan and Clapper get so damn powerful. Because they're running the world.
Yeah.
And nobody's paying attention. Yeah, I had to rant a little bit, Marlene. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay, Hutch. That's okay, my
your
friend.
Final thoughts. Final thoughts.
Speaking of Clapper and all those other crazy commie people, now that Norway's on there, I wanted to tell him that I'm really loving that book by Dana West, The Red Thread, and you were right. It is a jaw dropper. It really is, Norway. I am not kidding. I was like, oh my gosh. All this stuff about Nellie Orr, Little Miss Cummy.
Yeah.
Grief.
Nellie and her ham radio license. Give me a break.
I know.
Right? Ham radio license, really?
Get off the line here because I'm running out of.
Hey, thanks for calling, Marlene.
Hours, but no.
I know. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
All right, man. That's one of our best fans right there. And ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to. Don't worry. And this goes for you too, Sean, because you did it too. You never have to say that we're right. We know that. That's why we have this show. Just saying, I'll dust my
in all modesty,
dust my ego off a little bit. Fact. That's it, just a little bit, not a whole lot. All right.
I mean, yeah. Well, we do a lot of fact checking, and I know you do, Hutch, and I'm the same way. I'm always trying my ideological foundation up against what's going on in the world and what has worked in the past and what hasn't worked. I'm pretty sure that my thoughts and ideas, they are solid, and if they really came to fruition, they would spawn a fantastically rich rich and affluent society.
And wars would last about 2 weeks. If the United States Congress had to declare war, and that was the only time we did it, they wouldn't last very long.
No, exactly. These drawn-out wars, they're not wars. They're money-making.
They're money-makers, exactly.
Yeah, for rich and influential people that we cannot vote in or we cannot vote out. So, and I mean, what does that make Congress? It makes Congress a whorehouse.
That's exactly what it is. Just ask Pat Toomey. I mean, it's a little bitch.
Okay, after 1 hour and 31 minutes, there he was.
Now I have to question. I have to question the intellectual capacity of some of the districts, some of the congressional districts in the South, and I say that after listening to several buffoons. But man, I found another buffoon, Norway. Alabama State Representative John Rogers. Now, if you can understand him, it's a little tough to understand him. He has a little bit of a challenge when it comes to English. His family, 2019, so his family's probably been here 200-300 years. And he still hasn't managed to master English yet. But I want you to listen to this guy. because he says that Donald Trump Jr. Now, here's a guy that is very, very successful. I mean, look who he has on his arm. You know, this guy does not mess around. And one of the things that endeared me to him the most was when he told me that his father made him get up on a D9 Caterpillar bulldozer and learn how to operate it. That just was, all right, he could be the vice president. Now, bring him next. You know, but I want you to listen to this state representative and how he says that Donald Trump Jr. is proof that mothers need to have the right to have an abortion because he's evidently retarded or crazy. This is a member of Congress from the state of Alabama. Whatever district you're in, they should just flood it. Just flood it all.
Earlier today, Donald Trump Jr. condemned your comments. Do you have a response to the president's son?
Hey, that's an honor. Donald Trump Jr. did that. Thank God. Right on. That's definitely all right. Because I don't know that he's been right on since he's been here. That proved the right to make shit about abortion. Him being born, that's proved the right to. That's a very, very good defense I have for abortion right to him. Look at him say, one should have aborted him when he was born, but he would have made that stupid statement, right? So his parents made a decision for him. That's a decision he made for him. So that's the first proof I got. Mother all had a right to have abortion. They made a decision to have him, didn't they? They could have aborted him, but they made a decision to keep him. So he's evidently retarded. Crazy. Donald Trump son, I know he's something wrong with that boy. I look at him and tell something wrong with him. He should, hey, that's the best defense I got for abortion right there, looking at him.
Ladies and gentlemen, American citizens from Alabama voted for that guy. I mean, I'm embarrassed, Norway. I'm totally, it's unbelievable to me that this guy has any kind of a platform. Now, I take that back. He's not from Congress. He's a state representative.
No, he's not from Congress. Yeah, exactly. He's a state
representative. But still.
But nevertheless, someone voted for him. And I mean,
right.
It is sick and disgusting. I mean, is this the level you want to drag politics down to, you good people of Alabama? Is this really worth representing you? This Representative John Rogers? Is he your voice to the world? I'm just asking here.
You got to wonder. Now, this guy is in Congress.
Well, this is a island that at its widest level is, 12?
No, we're not going to listen to that whole thing. But you see my point. These people are
absolutely
not even worthy. I mean, our system is messed up. It's I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about Jerry Nadler for a second. He gave Attorney General Bill Barr until 9 a.m. Monday to comply with his counteroffer before holding him in contempt of Congress. I don't think Barr is going to budge. I don't think he should budge. Nadler is asking him for something that he is not obligated to provide. The unredacted letter from Mueller, his only requirement was to provide a report to Congress, not even the document. All he was required to do was report to Congress what his special prosecutor gave him. I don't think he should give up at all, in no way, shape, or form.
Nope, absolutely not. I mean, the unredacted version of the report is located in a SCIF, in a sensitive compartmented information facility for certain lawmakers to view. And, you know, that should be oversight enough. And I find it absolutely unbelievable that in over 206 years of the House Judiciary Committee, staffers have never questioned a witness, let alone the U.S. Attorney General, in an oversight hearing. I mean, the the Democrats, they keep breaking the law and they keep breaking the stupid record. I mean, it is fantastic. It's fantastic, the level of stupidity that party is displaying to the world.
Oh, you're 100%
and
right.
I hope by God that Americans are smart enough to see through this charade, because this is all Hollywood and popcorn. It has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with the future of the republic. It has everything to do with an entertainment industry that they have set up in the hopes that entertainment will win them 2020.
You're right, and it's not going to work. It is definitely not going to work. All right, let's go, and you may have to go to the video page on steelcityresistance.com to get the full effect of this, but that's not the reason that I'm playing the audio clip. I want you to listen to the white British dhimmis react to Tommy Robinson getting a vanilla milkshake thrown in his face. And I will say that right after that happened, his security guys knocked this guy down and he was done for. But I want you to listen to the audience's reaction. Tommy Robinson, a good friend of the show, is running for office in the UK, and he was out campaigning, and he's talking to a young Muslim.
Yes, bro. Yes, G. How are you, man? Respect BB1. Did you even get nicked? No. Yeah, man. Everything's blessed, alhamdulillah.
That's what you get for being a fascist! Fuck off! You fucking Nazi prick!
The young white British idiots called him a fascist, and that's what you get. This guy has balls of steel, man. I'm telling you. Now, you can tell he's bulked up. He's bulked up. He's ready to go. But still in all, I mean, the people,
you know, he's got security on, but you know, knowing Tommy Robinson and knowing his mindset, that security is more there for that Muslim loser throwing this milkshake than it is for Tommy Robinson.
Right.
He was ready to go in an instant.
Oh, they had to pull him out. They had to pull him back.
Yeah.
He was ready to start thumping this skinny bastard. You know, I'll tell you.
That's a warrior.
Yeah, England, you're in trouble, man. You better, Tommy, God bless you. Oh, we're going to get Tommy on the show. I'm going to get Mona. By the way, thank you, Mona, for all the great work, all the interviews that we're getting, people that you didn't necessarily, you might not necessarily have heard of, but man, she's working diligently, 2 interviews a week, and maybe more. Maybe more. We got another one coming up next week. I'm going to wait until it's locked in before I say anything. But yeah, she's doing a great job. Make sure you reach out to her. Yeah. She's on social media. Let her know if you think she's doing a good job. Now, finally, before we get
I just have to second that, because she is a dream of a communications director. She is she's autonomous, she is independent, she is out there, she is communicating and interacting, and wow, I would people, if you don't follow her, because she's got great insight, the political insight as well. So if you want the latest, hottest news, go to her Twitter account. It's at Mona Salama underscore.
Absolutely. And if you're into fashion, she's a pro at that. If you've ever seen her, you can attest to that. I know I can. But she's done just a wonderful job. And like you said, she's autonomous. I don't have to call her all the time. And, she just hits me with these boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, all right, set it up for here, there. And she just, man. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like, it is a dream. And if you like the way the show's going, I want you to know that you need to become a Cold War Radio patron. The more patrons that we have, the better people get treated. Let's just say that people are on a percentage basis. And we need some more Cold War Radio patrons. If you can help us out with a monthly donation, it's only going to make things get better. So please think about that. If you can possibly do it, please think about that. Finally,
and go to patreon.com/CWR.
Thank you very much. See, that's a wingman right there. Finally, CNN shock poll. Beto beats Trump by 10 points. Now, how can you watch that? How can you spend a minute? How can you take a portion of your electric bill and dedicate it toward that? I mean, really?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, that's true. That's a true poll that they did.
I'm sorry.
I mean, right?
I'm sorry. I have to hit the mute button here soon because it's just too ridiculous.
Beto. The Irish guy that's trying to be Mexican.
Exactly.
I hate white people that apologize for themselves. That's him. Ladies and gentlemen, your weekly Jihad Report 35. Jihad attacks, 358 killed, 919 injured, 3 suicide blasts, all occurring in 12 countries. They really branched out this week. The Religion of Peace atrocity of the week, as I said earlier, Saudi Arabia executes 37 Shiites. Some of the latest misunderstandings of Islam. On the 30th in Nigeria, religious extremists cut 14 loggers to shreds with machine guns. On the 29th in the same country, Boko Haram went door to door, slaughtering over 24 villagers. On the 28th in Burkina Faso, Islamic extremists attack a church and murder 6, including the pastor and his 2 sons. On the 28th of April in Yemen, a mother and 4 children are neatly disassembled by an Ansar Allah rocket. Back to Burkina Faso on the 26th, jihadists attack a school and murder 5 teachers and a city worker. And finally, on the 25th in Pakistan, a female polio worker is gunned down on the job. Note, data for each attack is sometimes pulled from multiple sources, so the provided link may not be in complete agreement with the updated detail for the incident. Thank you to the Religion of Peace.com. Oh, and I lost my whole here it is.
Allahu Akbar, Allah.
So, Norway, we have illegal aliens that are coming into the United States, and every time I talk to somebody in the know about the southern border, they say that these aren't all coming from Central America. We've got terrorist nations that are bringing people into the United States. But then everything's okay because we deport them, right?
Obviously, you don't deport them. There are thousands of illegal aliens from terrorist nations that are living in the U.S. after being quote-unquote deported. There are figures out there, and this is from judicialwatch.org, the best watchdog group on the planet, to my estimation. The distressing statistics are obtained from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, by a public interest group that favors secure borders and exposes the harms of mass migration. The Washington, D.C. nonprofit filed a Freedom of Information Act, a FOIA request, and made the figures public this month. They show 10,340 non-detained illegal immigrants from Iran, Syria, Sudan, and North Korea on ICE's national docket as of June 2018. Iran tops the list with 6,331, followed by Syria, 2,128, Sudan, 1,860, and North Korea, 21. All four countries have been designated as sponsor of terrorism by the State Department.
How the hell do you get here from North Korea? Have you ever seen North Korea? I have. I did. I mean, you don't just jump on a plane and go to New York, man. I mean, that's unbelievable. Continue. That just jumped out at me.
No, but I totally agree with you, because North Korea is very much like East Germany, where walls were built to keep people inside the totalitarian communist regime. So I'm thinking that when you have 21 from North Korea, those 21, they probably have the blessing of their own communist dictatorship to travel to America.
They're spies, sure. You know,
exactly.
Do you know that there are Americans, not too many left. I think PFC White defected in 1980, or it might have been the late 70s. But I've seen documentaries where there are Americans that jumped the border and moved to North Korea. That's a drug problem there. I mean, to go to North Korea. I mean, they do stuff comically over there. In the South, too. I mean, I remember being on a beach when I was in the Republic of Korea with the United States Army with the 2nd Infantry Division. I was in an air defense artillery unit. So we had to go to the Yellow Sea from time to time and fire our weapons, you know. And the beach, obviously, if you live on a peninsula and your country's cut in half horizontally, you got a problem. On your beaches are your weakness, because somebody from the north could jump in the water, swim down, and come in on your side of the border. So they have all the, first they have a curfew, a shoot to kill curfew after dark on the beach. But they have all these fighting positions set up with dummies in them. I mean, it's stuff that you wouldn't believe being from the West, you know what I mean, to see that. But that's just me, man. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, these people they're here. They're here.
It's a whole other country.
It is.
That's for sure. But I find this report from Judicial Watch really, really troubling, because Iran, topping the list, is designated the foremost state sponsor of terrorism. And the State Department also classifies Syria as a dangerous country plagued by terrorism. Quote, there is a terrorist threat from violent extremist groups, including the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL, formerly known as Al-Qaeda in Iraq, the Al-Nusra Front, and others, according to the State Department assessment. Tactics for these groups include the use of suicide bombers, kidnapping, use of small and heavy arms, and improvised explosive devices in major city centers, including Damascus, Aleppo, Hama, Dara, Homs, Idlib, and Deir al-Sadr.
And let's never forget who supported this. This was John McCain, and it was Lindsey Graham, and it was one of those congressmen that pisses me off. I can't remember his name. But they supported the Free Syrian Army, which was something that went null and void before they started supporting them. And all their weapons, all the TOW-2 missiles that these guys sent over there, United States congressmen and senators, fell into the hands of the Al-Nusra Front. And then later, ISIS.
Absolutely. And quite a lot of that has been used to blow up American soldiers.
Sure.
So it is horrible. And I would say Lindsey Graham. I jokingly talked about him when he was standing up for Justice Kavanaugh as the little girl that had grown up to become a man. But make no mistake about it. Lindsey Graham cannot be trusted.
No.
He's a slick political operator. He knows what way the wind is blowing. He can feel the Trump hurricane, and so he points in that direction. But don't give him any power, because throughout history he has shown himself not to be trustworthy.
No, you're absolutely right. And when it was time to put your money where your mouth is, he joined the Air Force Reserve. That's all that you need to know as far as I'm concerned. But then he became an Army Reserve lawyer. So he absolutely is not to be trusted at all.
There you go.
The Pentagon says China could deploy submarines to the Arctic as nuclear deterrent. Damn, the Pentagon's smart, man. They figured that out in the 50s. You know what I mean? This is, if you understand the United States, actually NATO's nuclear posture, it was coined as the triad. You had three legs to the stool, which kept us nuclear war free until today, actually. You had the land-based ICBMs, you had the Air Force Strategic Air Command, and then you had our boomers. You had the nuclear subforce that after the whole world is blown up, as they say, which would never happen. I mean, the key targets were nuked. You would still have these submarines out there that you didn't know where they were, so nobody ever pulled the trigger. It was called mutually assured destruction. Was a term that I remember. But now the Pentagon is saying they just figured this out, that now China could do this. But if you ask Joe, come on, man. Come on, man. Norway, I don't know. We're running out of time, man. We got to go to winners and losers, brother.
Okay, winners and losers. I would say this week's winner, in all solidarity, has to be Juan Guaido, the rightful president of Venezuela, and the people protesting for the Venezuelan constitution against the Democratic Party's pet dictator, Nicolas Maduro. Absolutely, that's my week's winner. This week's loser is a Democratic mayor in a sanctuary city caught stealing votes in an election. And he has just been arrested and is facing serious charges. And we're talking about Frank Caramagna, whatever his name is. He has been according to a local news outlet, North Jersey, the mayor of Elmwood Park was arrested on Monday and charged after authorities said he interfered in the 2017 mayoral election. So he's hopefully going down for a long time. He had been interfering with the secrecy of the election process by completing portions of the application for vote by mail ballot, primary election ballot certifications, and general election ballot certification of registered voters, the release said. So hopefully he took over Elmwood Park as the first Democratic mayor in nearly 50 years after longtime mayor Richard Mola died in October 2016. And now we know how he took over. And he obviously had planned to stay in power for quite a long time. And I see a lot of activity out on the internet now. Our friend, Lieutenant Colonel Schaefer, he is on the job securing the next election. he has put out a ton of good articles. It is really enjoyable reading all that he's writing. And it is going to be one of the decisive factors in the 2020 election, how criminal the Democrats will.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I mean, the mayor of Baltimore just resigned. I mean, she got caught too. I mean, they always do this. It's never going to end. My loser of the week is Jerry Nadler. I think he's going way too far. I think he is outclassed and outmatched when it comes to the president. He's been battling the president for decades. He's never won. He's not going to win now. I think he is destroying the Democrats' attempt at being normal. It's just ridiculous. My winner of the week is me, because I think I came up to camp on Sunday, and I'm probably going to leave tomorrow, and I have not watched 1 minute of television that whole time. So I turned it on once, but my DirecTV account was messed up and it didn't work, so I turned it right back off, and I haven't turned it on since. I might turn it on later, but I doubt it. I didn't miss a thing. Did not miss a thing.
No, you didn't. You didn't. I mean, as long as you got internet, you can search for your own news from the most trustworthy sources, and that is really all you need. I mean, TV. I can't remember. It's been years since I watched TV last time.
There you go. Norway, final comments, and how can people reach you?
Lovely show. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I would just say to our audience, I hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, please share it. You can find me at Norway for Trump on Twitter, Gab, and Facebook, and that's at Norway4 with the number 4. I hope you all have a blessed weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.
I did too. Started out the show with the Telemark Battalion March. What's playing in the background right now, Norway?
Absolutely. That was the start was His Majesty the King's Guard's Telemark Battalion March, playing the Telemark Battalion March. What we're listening to now is Sons of Norway, Sønner av Norge, the first national anthem of Norway between 1820 and 1864, a very patriotic song.
Outstanding. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr. Everywhere. Stay tuned. New Right Network tonight with the Smith Cousins from Cincinnati is up next. Have a great weekend, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless.
God bless.
You're listening to WHBJ Digital Talk from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, home of Cold War Radio. You can listen live 8 p.m. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.